Hello everyone and welcome to another Endgame episode with Coach B and MasterChess.com. In this video, we're going to take a look at the positions that involve a rook controlling the 7th rank. Maybe you've heard this before many times that rooks belong on the 7th rank. But the question that you have to ask yourself is why? So let's go over the two most important reasons. Where first of all, the enemy usually has many pawns on the 2nd rank. So placing a rook on the 7th rank will target all of those pawns for extermination. And the second reason is that the defending king is often on the 1st rank. Usually he castled and he's going to end up on the 1st rank. Well, a rook on the 7th rank freezes the king, preventing it from becoming active and in some instances setting up for possible back rank mating threats. So in this first position, it's black to move, and if we count the pawns, we could see that black is up a pawn. However, white is totally winning due to the fact that he managed to take control of the 7th rank with this rook. Even though it's black to move, black doesn't have many options. His rook on a8 cannot become active as it's stuck protecting the pawn on a7, and also black's king can't become active because he has to protect the pawn on f7. Moving the pawn to f5 will be a mistake here because after g takes on f6, en passant, white is totally winning. And I'm just going to fast forward through the moves so you could see how white will end up winning this game. And after white promotes the pawn, black is totally lost. So coming back, a better try is king to f8. So after rook to b7, king to e8, white is going to move the king to c3 and slowly improve his position, bringing the king into the battle. Coming back, I do want to mention that if white moves the king to d3 right away, instead of moving it to c3, he's going to allow black to equalize. After rook to d8 check, king to e4, rook to d7, king to e5, and king to e7, black has reached an equal endgame. After rook takes d7 and king takes d7, there's nothing that white can do to penetrate into black's camp. King to f6, king to e8, king to g7, and king to e7 pretty much freeze the position and white cannot make any progress. And coming back, if white does not take the rook here, let's say he's going to move the rook to b8, well, after rook to d8, black is simply going to repeat the position. Rook to b7 check, rook to d7, and white cannot make any progress. So coming back, after king to c3, black is in Zugzwang. Any move that he's going to make will worsen his position. If black moves the rook away, white will simply capture on a7. And if the king returns to f8, now is the time to penetrate. White will move the king to d3. Black will continue with rook to d8 checked, king to e4. And now black has two options, rook to e8 check or rook to d4 check. If he goes with rook to e8, white will move the king to d5, penetrating the black's camp. Rook to e7, challenging the rook, king to d6. As black cannot capture white's rook since it's going to queen on the next move. Rook to e6 check, king to c7, rook to e7 check, king to b8, rook to e8 check, and after king takes on a7, white is totally winning. He's simply going to capture the pawn on b6 and then slowly promote the pawn on the a file. Coming back to this position, if instead of moving the rook to e8, black tries rook to d4 check, well here white will move the king to e5, and the only thing that black's got now is taking the pawn on c4, from which white will reply taking the pawn on a7, rook takes h4, rook to d7, rook to a4, going behind the passed pawn, pawn to a7, and here black has only two tries, attacking the rook or moving the king to g7. If he attacks the rook with king to e8, white will eventually be able to promote his pawn, and I'm just going to fast forward to the moves. And after white goes behind the pawn, black is totally lost. Coming back, if black tries something different, let's say king to g7, after king to d5, pawn to h4, king to c6, pawn to h3, the king will be able to take the pawn on b6, also defending the pawn on a7. And now if the pawn marches to h2, after rook to d1, black is totally lost. He's not going to be able to prevent white from promoting the pawn. All he's got is rook to h4, but after white promotes and black tries to promote, black will lose his queen, while white will be able to keep his, winning the game. And coming back here, if instead of moving the pawn to h2, black is going to try to cover the 1st rank with his rook, well after rook to d2, stopping that pawn from moving, black is totally lost. Coming back from the beginning after king to c3 and king to f8, I do want to mention that white still has to be very careful playing the game correctly, as he can still lose this game. For example, if he plays here king to d3, let's say king to e8, king to e4, king to f8, king to e5, rook to e8 check. If here white makes the mistake of moving the king to f6, well, after rook to e6, this is checkmate. Obviously, coming back here, if white moves the king to d6 instead, he is still winning. This next position, it's white to move, and I know we've just talked about that rooks belong on the 7th rank. However, if here white does move the rook on the 7th rank with rook to d7 check, allowing king to e6, activating the king, this will result in an equal game. Coming back from the beginning, we could see that black's pawns are on the 6th rank here, while his king is on the 7th rank. So the best move for white here will be rook to d6, where he's attacking both of those pawns, also keeping the king stuck to the 7th rank, not able to come and get into the action. So after this move, white is totally winning. And here black doesn't have many options. Simply waiting with rook to b7 will not draw the game, as white will slowly move his king into the action, let's say king to c4, rook to b8, king to d5, and after white penetrates with king to c6, attacking the pawn, eventually he's going to chase the rook away, be able to win those pawns and win the game. Coming back, another try would be king to e7, attacking the rook. After this, white can pick up the pawn on g6, king to d7, king to c4. If here black tries king to c7, after rook to c6 check, king to b7, the pawn will march to g6, and all white has to do is move the king towards the pawn, promote the pawn to win the rook, and then win the game from here. Coming back, another try for black will be rook to f8. Here, the best reply by white will be moving the rook to f6, challenging the file, not allowing black to get active. Coming back, I do want to mention that it would be a mistake here to capture the pawn on b6, allowing black to go with rook to f4 check. After king to c5, rook takes the pawn on a4. This will simply just complicate things. So coming back, best reply is rook to f6. If black captures the rook on f6, after g takes f6, white is totally winning. The black king will be dragged to take the pawn on the f-file, while white will be able to penetrate, and I'm just going to fast forward to the move so you can see how white will win this game. And white promoted the pawn, winning the game. And coming back, if black does not capture the rook, we'll retreat the rook, let's say rook to h8. After this, white will continue moving the king to d5. After rook to h4, the rook can take the pawn on b6. Rook takes a4, rook to b7 check, forcing the king to the 8th rank. And after rook to f7, rook to g4, king to c6, threatening checkmate and defending the pawn on b5. Black is forced to move the king to d8. After pawn to b6, rook takes g5, rook to d7 check. No matter which way black retreats the king, white will win the game. If he goes with the king to c8, after b7 check, king to b8, rook to d8 check, king to a7, white will promote the pawn, winning the game. And coming back, after rook to d7, if black doesn't go to c8 but goes to e8 instead, after pawn to b7, rook to g6 check, the rook could retreat to d6, and after black captures the rook and white captures back, there's nothing that black can do to stop white from promoting the pawn and winning the game. Coming back from the very beginning, after rook to d6, the best try for black will be rook to e8, trying to activate the rook and go after white's weaknesses. After rook to f6 check, king to g7, and rook takes on b6, black can activate the rook with rook to e3 check, and I'm just going to fast forward through the moves so you can see how white will still be able to win this game, but it's going to be a little bit more tricky and he has to be careful. And here, even though white won black's rook, he has to be careful as he's going to have to fight against both of those pawns to prevent them from promoting. So I'm just going to fast forward to the moves so you can see how white will achieve that. And after winning the last pawn, white will also win the game. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you saw how important it is to take control of the 7th rank with your rook and activating your king. Sometimes you can even be down material and still turn the table in your favor. If you liked my video, please subscribe and don't forget to check out my new website, masteryourchess.com, where you can learn, practice, test, and master your chess knowledge.